I'm doing my dance, make sure my video is working, and it's working. So here we go. Hola a todos, I'm Danny from Spanish with Danny. Buenas tardes, good afternoon. I put on lipstick today, so you know that I have something important to share with you guys. Today in this video, I'm going to give you the why. Why did I learn Spanish? Why do I teach Spanish? And why is it one of the best things I've ever done that's changed my life in the most beautiful and profound way? So get ready, friends. So I was teaching one of my students a couple of weeks ago on Skype. She's one of my faves. I could lie to you and say that I don't have faves, but it would be a complete lie. I totally have faves. She's one of them. And she said to me, Danny, I'm going to go to Spain for January. And I was super excited. It's an incredible opportunity for students to learn more, put what they're learning into practice, into context. They come back with awesome stories and they teach me stuff. And so it's just an incredible opportunity. So I'm so happy that she's traveling for the months of January to Spain. And then she says to me, Danny, you inspired this. And she said, you shared with me a story about this photo, which is true. And she said, based on that story, I went and planned this trip. And so I'd like to share the story of this photo with you guys. So this is a photo of me at the top of Palacio Barolo in Buenos Aires, Argentina. See, it's me 5 years ago, but I look the same, right? It's a kind of crappy photo quality, as you can see. It's passable at best, I know. But I use this photo. Why? Because this photo means a lot to me. This picture was taken, this is actually a candid photo. I didn't pose for this photo. I was at the top of Palacio Barolo, which is a 22-story building in Buenos Aires, and I was looking outside of the balcony at the gorgeous view of this beautiful plaza at sunset. It was just magical. And I had this moment of realization where I realized, like, so many people had said to me, Danny, don't take this trip. I was in my early 20s. It was a 2-month trip by myself. They said it's expensive. You should be doing other things. You know, it's dangerous for a woman by herself and all these things. And I just felt so deep inside that this was something that I had to do. I had been learning Spanish and studying Latin American studies, but I was still a little bit shy to speak Spanish, even though I understood it quite well. And I had been studying all these places that I had never been to. And I completed a whole degree in a place that I had been to Dominican Republic, which actually was a cool experience. I went not to a resort, I went to a mountain town and did a volunteer opportunity. But other than that, I had never been to Latin America. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do this trip, and I'm going to go somewhere, and I'm going to get to know a place in Latin America, so, you know, the place that I've studied so much. And this was 6 weeks into my 7-week trip, and I just realized, like, thank God I listened to myself. Thank God I didn't listen to anybody but me. And I was so satisfied, and I was smiling. I just had this smile plastered on my face, and this girl that I went to Palacio Barolo with had called my name, and so I was looking out, and she said, Danny, and I just went, and she snapped the photo in that moment, and that's that photo. So for me, it represents something really important. That trip was an incredible trip. I kind of jokingly say that it was a 2-month-long date with myself, and it was the best date I've ever been on. But really it was, because I came to so many great realizations, so many moments of great connection with myself and other people. And actually I met incredible people that are still very much a part of my life to this day. So it was really a life-changing trip. I remember one moment from this trip. It was just one of like many moments of connection. That was a really cool moment. I was on a bus, and the woman next to me had this gorgeous perfume on, and I said to her, what's that perfume? And she told me, and so I wrote it down, and then we just started talking. She said, of course in Spanish, because she didn't speak English, she said to me, where are you from? And I told her where I was from. We started talking, and she's like, oh, well, you know, you're new to Argentina, you know, you should come to, I work at this bar, and we do, we put on peñas, which is like a folkloric gathering with music from the north of Argentina, you should come. And so a few days later, I went with a few friends of mine, and she invited us to a huge plate of empanadas and beer, and we had such a great night. And even actually I went with somebody who's from Argentina who said he had never been to a peña before, so even for him it was a learning experience because he had never seen that aspect of his own culture. So it was a really cool night. And I still have that perfume and use it and love it. Anyways, it was just a cool moment of many. Learning Spanish has changed my life in so many ways. I get confused for a native speaker all the time. Here in Toronto, whenever I travel, people ask me all the time, where I'm from, assuming that I'm a native speaker, and it's just the coolest thing. I took a trip last year to Havana. I was actually meeting up with a friend of mine who's from Havana, Cuba, no longer lives in Toronto or Havana, and we met up there, and so, due to some circumstances, we didn't end up being able to spend a lot of time together. And I had a feeling that would be the case because she was visiting family. And so I had a list of all these things that I wanted to do on my own in Havana. And you know what the crazy thing is? I didn't do anything on my list. Nothing. Because I walked around and then people started talking to me and they were like, oh, I know this great place, let's go. Or we would just sit and have a conversation, or we had a coffee, or, let me show you this, let me show you that. And so I ended up doing all these unplanned things with strangers that just invited me to show me things and do things with me, and they told me about their lives and about how they felt and what they thought. I got to ask them, people have so many questions about Cuba, and I got to ask them in a respectful way, these questions that I had, and they got to explain to me, this is how we feel, this is what we think, this is how we perceive our reality, this is how we perceive people that come from other countries. It was fascinating, and it was just like and also like Cubans showed me such kindness, like such deep kindness. They're very emotionally perceptive in such a beautiful way, and they showed me such deep kindness that I might be having a bad day and I remember that moment, and it just brings me joy, and it reminds me that there's so much beauty and joy in this world. And so for all these reasons, that's why I say that learning Spanish is not just about learning Spanish. It's about so much more than that. It's really about a lifestyle. And it's a lifestyle where you seek out connection with other people and other cultures, where you expand your worldview, where you do hard things. Learning is a very vulnerable experience. You have to, first of all, open yourself up to completely sucking, because anytime anybody does something for the first time, they suck, and that's just the truth. So you have to open yourself up to be willing to not be good at something until you get good at it. And that happens with all of us, myself included. There's a quote in Spanish, vale la pena luchar por lo que vale la pena tener. This means it's worth fighting for what it's worth having. And it's so true, and it's one of my favorite quotes, and it applies to Spanish just like any other hard thing you do in your life. And, this lifestyle that I'm talking about includes you taking on challenges and doing hard things. It includes you getting to know yourself, stepping outside of your comfort zone, and enjoying profoundly beautiful experiences and connections with yourself and other people and other cultures. It's not just about tacos, tequila, playa, cerveza, all that's great, fiesta, all that's great, right? But this is about traveling deeper, connecting deeper, and being the person that you've always dreamt of being. That's what this is about. Being the person that you've always dreamt of being. I'm practicing what I preach. I signed up for a stand-up comedy course in Spanish, okay? Anybody who knows me knows that that's so not my comfort zone at all. It's so not my comfort zone. But I went to the first class last week. I loved it. And I remember, and it was another moment where I thought, I'm so happy that I worked so hard to learn this language, because I'm just having the coolest moment right now with the coolest people. And it's because I did this. It's because I followed my heart and I did something hard and I stuck with it. And I invested my time and my resources, and look at all that it's given back to me. So I hope that you guys take something out of this story. And I hope that you have a beautiful day. Los quiero mucho. Ciao.